Welcome back to another episode of Mindful Money Nuggets. I want to just give you a quick disclaimer. I have some people working in my house and we've had some work going on for several weeks, and I have not been able to find a good break when it's quiet. So you will hear some banging and some drilling and stuff in the background. Please forgive me. You know, they say the show must go on. So here I am filming in spite of noise. So today I want to reflect on the profound ways in which we seek transformation in our lives. So just like adopting a new workout routine, every time we take a step towards change, whether it's in the gym or in our budgeting practices, we build not just commitment, but also strength and resilience. So I want you to think about how each visit to the gym enhances your physical strength and flexibility. So each rep, each set, they're challenging, but they are building our capacity and our confidence to lift bigger and stronger weights or kick higher, whatever it may be. Budgeting is remarkably similar. With every financial decision, we gain more insights and control, learning to adjust as life presents its inevitable twists and turns. Our financial plan must be as flexible and dynamic as a well-rounded fitness regime that adapts to meet the changing circumstances without losing sight of our long-term goals. So just like our fitness journeys, there are going to be days when our financial discipline might waver. Perhaps we have an extra expense or we've missed a savings opportunity. It is so human to occasionally stray from the path. So rather than dwell in shame, these moments can be truly transformative, offering us valuable lessons and grounding us in our financial and personal growth and our authentic core money values, which I'm going to get into in a minute. So consider my own experience. I recently traveled on a school trip with my daughter, and I found myself caught up in the pressure of appearances, spending well beyond my planned budget for clothing. So in truth, I didn't need a new outfit. I have everything I could possibly need. But facing this during my monthly budget reconciliation, I had to ask myself, what was this compulsion for having new things all about? Because it didn't seem like it was really about having a new outfit. So it turned out to be a moment of vulnerability where I felt like I was seeking to impress basically a crowd of strangers, and I was falling back on an old belief that my worth was tied to my outward appearance. So as I dive into today's topic, 8 essential steps for building a budget that endures, I want to approach it with the understanding that budgeting, like exercising, is about progress, not perfection. It's about learning and adapting and growing stronger with each step that we take. So now let's explore these steps together and see how each one can be a building block for a more mindful and empowered financial life. So I know that this is a topic that is uncomfortable. I just recently read an article that actually says that it's a bad word, yet we are going to talk about budgeting. So this isn't just a numbers game, however. It's also about facing our financial narratives with compassion and courage and the wholehearted acceptance that, comes with grace. So let's explore how we can transform our approach to budgeting, not just to manage our money, but to truly enrich our lives. The first step is identifying your limiting beliefs. So Brené Brown, one of my favorite authors, really talks about owning our stories. She says owning our story can be hard, but not nearly as difficult as spending our lives running from it. Think about how much energy we spend running from things. Here's the thing, like limiting beliefs, I want to talk about them for a second because I really believe that we are hardwired. Our brain is wired in a way that is always trying to protect us. It always is thinking that it's protecting us. It's really protecting our ego. But there's something about the event that feels bad. And so we have these synapses that just start firing and they go, no, 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 no. And they start sending us other messages, which are typically in the form of limiting beliefs. So I want you to reflect on how past experiences or maybe even influences in your home or cultural influences, things that have happened at school might have shaped your relationship with money. It's definitely there. We all have stuff around money. So are there beliefs that are more burdensome than beneficial? And I want you to take the time to write them down when they happen. So I like to call these triggers, these moments where you're like, oh, that does not feel good. Or you notice you have a reactive moment, which is a sign that something has triggered you. It's really good to start noticing those things because then you can catch the limiting beliefs in action and reframe them. So writing them down gives you an opportunity to challenge them and consider if they are truly serving your best interest. Step 2 is core money values. I really beat core money values into the ground, but they are so important to building a budget that allows us to truly change spending behavior. When you get very clear on what your core money values are, you will be surprised at how certain things that you used to spend money frivolously on, you just stop because it isn't part of who you authentically are. So Roy T. Bennett said, our values should be like a compass guiding us through life. So what are your core financial values? I'm going to go further and say your core financial values are truly just your core values. So people will say things like security, generosity, freedom, family, simplicity. I want you to take them deeper. What about security is at the core of what you want? Sometimes security is about the future. Sometimes it's about right now, right? So things like I have found my core values, one of them is expansion, because I love to learn and I love to continue to grow in all of the things that are important in my life, like finance and parenting and all those things. So I tend to spend money in the expansion category and things like classes or books or those kind of things. So I have a category in my budget that allows for me to buy things that are related to expansion. So I just want you to think as deeply as you can. And I have a whole host of suggestions on how to get to your core money values. One of the ways is, how do your spending habits today reflect these values? Are they aligned with what is truly important to you? And sometimes where we're spending money right now might show us what we actually value. And sometimes it may be a reflection of a limiting belief. So these are ways in which we can dig a little bit deeper and start to reflect using our budget and finding what is truly at the core of our desires. Step 3 is picking a budgeting tool. I know I've mentioned Brené Brown. She reminds us that living wholeheartedly requires intention. So I'm going to tell you that you have to actually choose a tool. You can't just budget in your head. So this can be as old-fashioned as just pen and paper or a detailed spreadsheet or using an application. I love You Need a Budget. I'm a You Need a Budget certified coach, so of course I love it. But I know there's a lot of great apps out there, and I recommend trying to find one because I think with the way we carry around our smartphones today, it's something that can be always with us, and it will definitely help change spending behavior if you have something that you can look at in real time. and see whether you've allocated spending in this category. So it really is about finding what best supports you in your financial journey. Step 4 is actually setting up your budgeting tool. Pablo Picasso famously stated, action is the foundational step to all success. So now that you've found a tool, a budgeting tool, you actually have to use the budgeting tool. And that seems kind of obvious, but I think one of the downfalls of starting a new budgeting program is this expectation that you're going to dive into a new tool and expect to know how to use it instantly. And definitely some tools are more intuitive than others, but all of them come with a learning curve. So you must give yourself the time to mess around inside the app and build just a simple initial system. That's going to be something like looking at your expenses, your income, and your debt. And in doing that, you're actually setting the stage for mindful money management. That does include a debt reduction strategy and even setting targets for certain categories. But that is something like when you're first getting started, really and truly focusing on using the app and just putting in your expenses and income and debt and then tracking your transactions. Step 5 is getting to your true expenses. I mentioned you need a budget. This is one of the foundational rules of you need a budget. But true expenses are really something you need to think beyond your traditional monthly expenses. We all know that we have necessities, that just keeping the lights on and a roof over our head and insurance and the things that happen every month that are just part of day-to-day living. I'm talking about considering all expenses and looking at them as true expenses. So this includes things that occur less frequently and then breaking them down into monthly allocations to avoid the surprises and allow you to stay true to your budgeting goals. So I just want to give you a couple examples would be like car insurance can be due every 3 to 6 months instead of every month. So you could break that down monthly. Or holiday gift giving is a big one that I have had to face in my life where I just wasn't, at first I wasn't allocating at all. And then all of a sudden, December, January, like November, December, January, and sometimes even into February became these like months because I was having to find money where I had overspent because I didn't actually ever even plan to spend. So it comes every year. I know it's there, and now I save for it. The next step is identifying a debt pay down strategy. Debt is a chapter in a larger financial story. So I just want to say that having a strategy to pay it down is critical to helping you actually save for the future. And I have a whole belief system on saving for the future, which I'll talk about in a moment. But there are definitely different methods of debt pay down. I'm a fan of the snowball method, which is taking your smallest step first and then going to your next smallest and then your next, like kind of doing it small to large, regardless of the interest rate. Mostly because I think with every small victory, you're building confidence and encouragement to keep going towards that financial freedom. This kind of goes back to my workout analogy that we accumulate the muscle and the memory to lift bigger and stronger weights or heavier weights. It's the same idea with the snowball method. So I really encourage everybody to come up with a debt pay down strategy and work towards that. So along with debt pay down comes the next step, which is step 7, is savings goals. So Warren Buffett advises us, do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving. So here is a big divergent, is a lot of people are like, well, I can't save if I can't pay my bills or I have debt. What I want to tell you is that having a savings goal is really critical, but breaking them down into short-term and long-term savings goals. So I look at short-term goals as quality of life goals. So those are things like maybe it's a bathroom renovation or going on a family vacation. I really think like any good, even health plan allows you to have a cheat day every now and then. And quality of life goals are critical to not making a budget feel really heavy and overwhelming. And sort of like something you don't take very seriously. So sometimes if you only focus on long-term goals for savings, it's really hard to save for something that's unknown, right? And you don't know how much to save. You don't actually know when you're going to start drawing on that savings. Those kind of things are very, I guess, esoteric in a way. The brain just can't grab onto them. But these short-term goals, they can. And I believe that when you start achieving, you get to take that family vacation that you saved for. Again, it's like that muscle growing. It gives you the confidence that, oh, okay, savings goals actually work. So it really sets you up for success, even for the long-term goals, which, as I mentioned before, is really like one of the biggest long-term goals we all need to be saving for is retirement. I've written a whole blog on my position on the retirement crisis that's looming. And I really think we have to do a better job at saving, at adding to our savings for retirement. Many of us are lucky enough to have 401ks. They're not insignificant, but we need to be supplementing those dollars for the time in our life when we can't work. So allocating funds regularly to these goals and aligning your financial actions with your future goals is a very big part of this step. So now we're at the final step, and possibly the most important, which is accountability, monthly reconciliation. Trust me when I say I avoid monthly reconciliation like the plague. I don't know what it is, but it is very triggering to me. I think it's a moment where I kind of have to come face to face with my spending, and it also, I think, challenges me academically. I worry that I've missed something, or if I can't get everything exactly to the penny, and then I start thinking, there's something wrong with me. You know, it goes into a lot of my self-worth stuff. That said, I now do it every month without fail. Sometimes I do it twice a month. I prefer to do it twice a month, actually, because then it doesn't feel quite so overwhelming. There's not as much to do, frankly, because I'm only doing half the month. Bob Proctor, he teaches us that accountability is the glue that ties commitment to results. So I really want you to get into the habit of dedicating time each month to review your budget. In my Unlocking Financial Wellbeing program, we meet live monthly to actually do this reconciliation together. I mean, that's accountability, right? When you're brought into a group and you're being told you have 10 minutes to do this part. Now you have 10 more minutes to do that part. So accountability is highly important. It gives you a moment when you're reviewing your budget to adjust as necessary. So you may find that some of your targets are off, like you're consistently overspending in groceries, which means maybe you just haven't allocated enough to groceries. So you can adjust as necessary and, really make any changes that you need to do in your budget in that moment. I want to say two things that really and truly, I work myself into a state of pure grace when I approach my budget, and I really do my best to not have judgment. Sometimes it's impossible. Again, the brain just does it. We're all human, and we're all facing those moments where we're like, I was bad. Well, it happens. Sometimes we just we have an indulgence and it happens. But this monthly reconciliation moment is a time where we can reflect on it and maybe remind ourselves of what those core values are in our life so that we don't do it again next month. And then we have to make adjustments to account for whatever that indiscretion might have been. Okay, so in closing, I want you to remember Brené Brown, which I've reflected on a lot during this podcast. She says, she talks a lot about owning our stories. So the approach to budgeting that I use really reflects our deepest values and desires. And it isn't about perfection, but it's about our authenticity and our resilience and our courage in the face of financial truths and looking at them like head on. So let's embrace our financial stories with courage and show up for ourselves in the most authentic way possible. So I hate to say the bad word, but happy budgeting. Anyway, thank you for tuning in to Mindful Money Nuggets. If you're interested, you can head over to www.unlockingfinancialwellbeing.com to download the full guide on today's episode, 8 Essential Steps for Building a Budget That Endures. That's www.unlockingfinancialwellbeing.com for the free guide that will help you continue your financial clarity and financial freedom journey. So until next time, keep nurturing your financial well-being.